Honey, the baby's up. I'm gonna go in and check on her, okay? Get back to sleep. Hey. Shh. It's okay. It's okay. Did you have a bad dream? Those happen, don't they? It's okay. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Mama's gonna buy you a mockingbird. There you go, little one. Sweet dreams, and I'll see you in the morning. Weird. I just set her down. Why did the camera just chime? Ugh, I wonder if I shut the door too hard and woke her up. Honey, wake up. Wake up. Someone's talking to our baby. And it's through the monitor. Hi, and welcome, Cyber Defenders, back to the CyberSpeak Labs. I have received requests to go over cyber events that are part of Internet of Things, also known as IoT. And if you're not familiar with IoT, well, that's okay. I'll be explaining that with today's research. So since there are so many different areas of IoT, I wanted to do an episode that I thought was really interesting and not talked about enough, especially for those who are parents or know people with children, and the importance of cybersecurity with these different IoT devices. And IoT is literally what it means, Internet of Things. There are plenty of things that are connected to our home Wi-Fi, and I really enjoy the research with this, especially with the volunteers that did help with this. And I thought that baby monitor hacking was way more interesting than toasters connected to Wi-Fi, because let's be real, hackers and baby monitors sounds way more entertaining than burnt toast. So I do have a quick disclaimer because we are going to be talking about data privacy with children and events that could bring harm to children. There will be discussions of violence towards children and minors, general harassment, and there will also be topics of privacy violations that do involve children and minors, and a slight topic of child hunters with these hacks. Now, if some of these topics are uncomfortable, they will be, I would say, triggering to some audience members. Some of these topics could cause anxiety, paranoia, depression, and other unpleasant experiences. And if this is something you wish to not listen to, no worries at all. We'll see you in the lab again for another episode. But CyberSpeak Labs is happy to promote the nonprofit of victims of cybercrimes. This organization is built to support mental health with victims who experience anxiety, depression, and paranoia due to cybercrimes. If you are interested in volunteering or donating to this nonprofit, I have linked their website in the description and show notes if you would like to help participate. So, without further ado, let's enter the lab to collaborate and to learn. Now, as a quick note to the listeners, I will be redacting and replacing names for this episode to help protect the identities of these families. If you do choose to do your own research on your own and you do discover the names of the victims of these crimes, out of respect and privacy for the families, I did remove their names, but you can find them on your own as well. Our research will start with the Johnson family. It's in the year of 2013. And as far it is known to the public eye, the Johnson family was your average American family. They lived in a safe suburban neighborhood in Houston, Texas, with their 2 children, an older child who was 3, and the youngest, Claire, who was 2. Claire had a disability that required implants to hear. She was diagnosed to be deaf early on in her childhood, but this did not stop the Johnson family from providing support and guidance for Claire to have a healthy and happy childhood. The Johnsons were very involved in both of their children's lives and even used a baby monitor in Claire's room to provide immediate availability if it is needed from her parents. This monitor was nothing special. It had a camera, and you were able to hear from what was happening in the room, and you can even talk back through the camera as well. Now, the month of August is a very special time for the Johnson family. Jeff, the husband, celebrated his birthday during this month. And the Johnson family celebrated birthdays with each other, and they had lovely meals for the occasion. So after this celebration for Jeff's birthday, the Johnsons put Claire and her sibling to bed and returned to the kitchen to finish dishes and tidying up from the occasion. Now, normally, on a normal night, the dishes would be done and Jeff and his wife would sit down and have a relaxing evening with each other, but this time it was different. As they were tidying up from the occasion, something seemed off. Very off. Jeff started to hear something from Claire's room. And it wasn't her. It sounded like a man. Which was weird to Jeff because there shouldn't be anyone in the house except for his family. Setting the dishes down and drying off his hands, Jeff walks to Claire's room and was trying to listen to what was being said. He had swiftly and quietly got Anne, his wife, to listen to what he was hearing because he couldn't believe what was being heard from the other side of the room. Creaking the door open to let some of the hallway light into Claire's room, Anne and Jeff quickly scanned her room and noted that nobody was in Claire's room. The hallway light shone on Claire, who was sound asleep in her bed, but one thing was off in Claire's room. The baby monitor's light was on. It wasn't a big flashlight or anything like that. It was a small LED light on the top of the camera. It's a visible cue for parents or a child to know that the camera is turned on and someone is using it on the other side. Anne met Jeff's eyes and grabbed his arm hard. They both realized that there's an intruder in their house, and they have no physical way of removing them from their property. Suddenly, the baby monitor's camera tilted above Claire, pointing at the lettering that spelled her name above her head. "Claire, time to get up." Anne gripped Jeff's arm tighter. "Claire, get up, you..." This was enough for Jeff. He opened the door fully and turned on the lights to Claire's room. As he did, the baby monitor's camera shifted and focused on Anne. The voice behind the camera hissed, "You morons." Jeff quickly yanked the cable from the wall and powered the camera off. Going over to Claire, she was still sound asleep. Her hearing implants were turned off, meaning she didn't hear a single thing that happened. Only Anne and Jeff knew what happened in Claire's room that night. Now, the Johnson story was one of the first stories to be public about their baby monitor being exploited or hacked. Now, baby monitors themselves have been around for many, many years, some say as early as 1937, but the baby monitors we know now include video feed and being able to send audio through it. This had really started gaining popularity in the 2000s, and once the 2010s hit around, this was a big boom decade for IoT devices. And if you're like, what is an IoT device? That's okay. IoT is literal things, Internet of Things. And this is in your house or a place of work where there is a device that is connected to the internet. Some examples that you might be familiar with could include doorbells, lights, thermostats, even some kitchen appliances like refrigerators nowadays. And having them connected to the internet can let these appliances quote unquote work while you go on with your day. I'm not even kidding. My dishwasher starts dishes from my phone now, which is super nice because sometimes I go to work and I forget to start the dishwasher the night before. So I'm like, oh, so by the time I get home, I have clean cups to drink water out of. Or some people can use this as to adjusting the thermostat, which I know a lot of couples probably go to marriage counseling over this because some people like it at 70 degrees while other people like it at a sweltering 72 degrees. Either way, while nobody is home or feeding a camera view in front of your door, your appliances use the internet as essentially to work while you're away, and it takes the manual labor out of things. Now, IoT can be extremely, extremely helpful in today's modern world, but in some cases, it can be extremely vulnerable to threats on the internet. And with such high demand for these tech products, security often becomes an afterthought. A lot of products become shipped with built in login for the device with little to no instructions for customers on how to change their default passwords, or even a general topic of, hey, how do I secure my device, period. Another is these companies will use a generic data privacy template for how your family's data is being handled. And it's not really, I would say, legal viewed or legal approved. It's just a generic high level, here's the data privacy so we don't get fined by the government because we don't have a statement to say how we're handling your data or if we're selling your data, essentially. Additionally, it's very difficult for, I would say, average homeowners to know how to patch the system for updates or even understand the importance as to why having automatic updates being on is very crucial. Again, this is because there's little to no explanation for this during the setup process, in my opinion. Now, when a threat actor does bypass the very well managed out of the box security settings, they can use this to move throughout the network to other devices, which we can assume majority of the households don't change the default router password or other devices using the internet in the house, which in this case, the Johnsons witnessed firsthand. Now, I did some digging and reading a lot of news articles. Some of these news articles had images of what the baby monitor looked like. The Johnsons never disclosed what the baby monitor was, but some, I would say, readers or some news reporters did find some very similar cameras. Now, I did do a reverse Google search on the cameras because technology is wonderful these days, and also asking ChatGPT and doing some cross comparison. It appears the camera the Johnsons were using is from a company called Forescam. The specific camera, I do believe, I'm not 100% confident, I am 90% confident that the camera that they were using is called F1890W. And this camera at the time was advertised for parents to monitor their kid and be able to communicate and hear their child while not being in the same room as them, which is very nice, especially if you're at work or if you have multi-story floors and your child is trying to stick a fork in the outlet of their room and you can be like, hey, stop that from the other side of the house, right? It's a very good technology product, in my opinion. Now, this technology in 2013 was very costly. So, Forescam was popular at the time because they were selling a very cost effective model. It was very good for that middle class family. And at the time, they had sold over 40,000 units of these cameras. Now, after Jeff had reported this event to news channels and authorities, cyber researchers white knuckle grit the story and they try to replicate the breach because that's what cyber researchers do. They want to understand what happened so that way it could be prevented again in the future. And a lot, and I mean a lot of vulnerabilities were discovered. Some of the vulnerabilities include, but not limited to, communication from the baby monitor to its hub was not encrypted, meaning everything that was being transported could just be picked and grabbed if their internet was already compromised. So nothing was encrypted. The default passwords on this camera in the hub were found on the baby monitor's application, which, by the way, if it's not already encrypted and you're logging in, you're just handing some stranger basically a key on the street that's like, yeah, here you go, welcome to my house. And additionally, there was a ton of exposed ports and services, and essentially, if you're not very technical in your, I would say, listening to this just as like a non-technical person, having exposed ports and services is basically a burglar walking around a house and trying to open up windows or move doors to see how they can get into your house without using a key. And having exposed services and ports basically is the same as unlocked windows, unlocked doors, and you're like, oh, cool, I can just browse right on in here using this. So these findings did put some harsh criticism with baby monitors and IoT devices around this time era. Now, it did not stop the general public to purchase these products because, again, these are very good products. They're very much needed in that time era's, I would say, consumer need. So as security was more researched and published for these devices, by 2018, IoT devices, specifically baby monitors, started to implement better security practices. The devices moved away from built-in passwords and they started forcing users to change passwords upon the setup. And additionally, a lot of devices started to communicate over encrypted traffic to ensure the data was secure, the data was being handled, and that not everyone can read, I would say, what's happening within your household if they decide to sit in a car on the street trying to read your computer traffic. But the device hardening with automatic updates and closed ports, they started to become more of a standard practice. So, hey, you're implementing a device that's going to be on the network. As part of that setup process, you have the option to enable or disable automatic updates as well. And you would have to force code the open ports so other services could access it, which isn't really a common practice with, I would say, those not exploring technology or those who are not, I would say, tech savvy in their day to day household era. So, a lot of these, I would say, vulnerabilities that were found in 2013 started to not be applicable to the new modern devices that were being pushed in 2018. So, by 2018, the Johnsons still claim that they had left their initial monitor unplugged and they will never be using it again. Now, even though the Johnsons were a victim of this crime, there was another Texas family who went to the public with a very similar chilling story. This family was called the Garcia family, and they had purchased a Nest camera to help monitor their 4-month son activity in his room. It was December of 2018, and the holiday season was around the corner. Usually, December is supposed to be a happy, nostalgic time with close friends and family members, yet a unwanted guest was lurking in their network. After putting their son Mason to sleep, the Garcia couple decided to retire to their living room, sitting with the TV on low. They heard a faint beeping noise from their son Mason's room. The couple looked at each other because both of them know that noise very well. It was the noise when the Nest camera makes when it turns on. Now, the couple brushed it off, maybe in the back of their mind, they were thinking it was an update or they had lost power for a brief second and the camera just had rebooted. And the couple went back to their evening routine, watching TV and scrolling through their phone when they heard another noise. A noise that made the arm hair rise with unease. A low voice that was getting more and more aggressive coming from Mason's room. "I can see you, little one." After hearing that very clear, distinct male voice, the Garcias got up and ran to Mason's room. They flung the door open, turning on the lights to find nobody there. Then they noticed the light on the camera on. How peculiar, they thought. "Turn off the light," hissed the voice on the Nest camera. Made the parents jump back a little bit and gasp. "I'm going to kidnap him. I'm in his room. Turn off the lights." Realizing that nobody is in Mason's room and the voice is coming from the Nest camera, the Garcias quickly powered off the Nest camera and immediately contacted authorities. Still to this day, they were never able to trace and find the threat actor behind these scares, allegedly. For the Garcias, they claimed to remove all Nest systems in their house and move to offline technology, only due to this very, very traumatic experience. And when news outlets broke with this story, people became scared, especially when viewers started correlating Garcia's story to the Johnson's family experience. People were hesitant to buy baby Nest camera monitors or any related type of technology because, again, nobody wants a stranger in their house, especially one that is threatening to kidnap their literal child. Nest decided to reply back to the news outlets, and they were reaching out with claims that they can't control when users recycle insecure passwords across multiple devices, especially if their recycled account that they used to set up their Nest account was breached elsewhere and the users had used the same email address and passwords that were breached for their Nest login. And when the Garcias heard this news, they returned back to the outlets and said, "Well, yeah, we could have used the credentials before, but I don't remember. I'm not really sure. And we could have also maybe used the same passwords as well." Now, From what was speculated to be said by Nest, there was no confidence that Nest had changed any of the security practices or the onboarding process for new users with the camera. Eventually, since this was 2018, the case went cold and no other details were released to the public. Now, this doesn't mean that Nest didn't conduct their own investigations on their own side and didn't release it to the public, but as far as today, there has been no news of anyone being arrested or found that was related to threatening to kidnap a child. So you would think with baby monitors being used since 1937, security would be handled and delivered to new parents in a better way by 2025. However, a new mother went to Reddit in February of 2025 to talk about her Amazon purchase, E10. And if you do a quick review search of this camera, I don't know about you, but it grinds my gears when the first sentence in the marketing of literal any product in today's world is AI powered ... Like seriously, there is enough people who work in tech or understand tech that these phrases should just be a red flag for anyone. AI doesn't mean anything. Like, it doesn't turn natural resources into energy to make the refrigerator in my house run. I don't know. It irks my gurks when marketing uses the phrase AI powered whatever. Now, anyways, just looking at the website for the E10 cameras, I don't know, there's some red flags, and I'll definitely link the website and my findings in the show notes, but there were misspellings, there was weird grammatical errors, and for some products that are supposed to be, in my opinion, making money, making revenue, it's supposed to be high-end, modern technology, it doesn't seem right. Now, it could be because the website wasn't originally designed in English, and the English translation didn't have the correct spellings and grammar. I mean, there's some use cases to this, but even some of the images just look like generic stock photos that come with a default built-in website. And this isn't me hating on the product of all means, right? This is just me pointing out some red flags, especially for a camera and product that isn't very common use, isn't very commonly advertised. And if I'm buying a cheaper brand of something, I definitely want to make sure I'm comfortable with the product and not just the price. I also think one of the biggest red flags on this page is that if you go to the privacy policy at the very bottom of this website, it doesn't exist. And the reason I was going to the privacy policy was I was going to do a quick and honest review of the privacy policy. Because again, right, just because it's a cheap product, it doesn't mean that it's not safe, it's not secure. But there's literally no privacy policy for me to do an honest review on. And it just goes straight to a 404 page. It doesn't exist. It literally doesn't exist. Which, if they're selling this product in Europe or even specific territories in the United States, this is just a lawsuit waiting to happen for mishandling of data or undisclosed data handling, or just the lack of regulations and policies around data handling for this website, especially if we're talking about children or indoor camera use that it's used for biometrics. I don't know. I'm not a legal counselor or advisor, but as a random person looking at this product, I want to feel confident purchasing this product at all. There's no information. There's no, I would say, even shipping information that I could find. Now, I also didn't spend a whole lot of time poking around this website, so it could be there, but just high level, the 30 seconds I spent poking around, just red flags everywhere for me. If I was a consumer of this product, I wouldn't purchase it, just based off of the website alone. Now, some people don't look to this, I would say, granular of detail. Some people don't care, and that's fine. But again, if I'm using a product to look at my child, even my doggy child, no, just hard no. So if you want to check this out for yourself, like I said, you absolutely can. They're in the show notes to look for yourself, along with some photos that I posted. But the parent that posted this actually went to Reddit originally, like I said. And the post reads, "We were gifted a camera from a family member that detects movement, timestamp videos, which is super helpful for seeing how long a baby slept, and allows you to talk through the camera. The only issue was it was Wi-Fi connected." and you had to use it through on an app on your phone. Anyways, we had the camera positioned over the baby's crib. The day before yesterday, I sat him in his crib. I went to use the bathroom, and of course, he was crying a little bit. So I opened the app, turned on the audio, just to keep an eye on him. And as soon as I turn on the audio, I hear a woman's voice go, "Hello?" Weirded out by this, I go downstairs and ask my husband if there is possibly anything in our son's room that talks or if the camera makes a noise when turning on the audio. He says no. So I go back upstairs, and as I'm opening the door to my son's room, I hear the same woman talking to my son through the camera. She says, "Hi, baby. It's okay." I immediately yanked the camera out of the wall, and I haven't used it since. Here's the kicker. Apparently, this woman has been talking to my son for at least 4 days because my sister, who lives with us, by the way, heard a woman talking in his room, but thought that we had finally set up the TV that's in there. We haven't. So I guess what I'm saying is get a Bluetooth camera. Wi-Fi ones are so vulnerable, and anyone could get access easily. Now, reading this Reddit post and looking at the product, I have millions and millions of thoughts going through my head. I did try to find the information on the privacy of the camera, how the camera was set up, such as forcing a password, such as forcing MFA. I couldn't find anything on the product side of the security. Now, I also didn't really spend countless hours doing research on this. I'm sure there's YouTube videos or other Reddit posts or whatever, but on the website alone itself and just doing a quick Google search, I couldn't find anything. And you might be wondering why. Like, why would someone want to get into a literal camera to spy and talk to a child? I'm not law enforcement. I just work on the cyber defense side. So if I'm looking on the cyber defense portion of this, maybe there's some sort of financial gain for finding exploited vulnerabilities where you can sell the exploit on the dark web, or even reach out to the company where they will pay you essentially to do their cybersecurity vulnerability findings. Or you can look on the opposite side of the scale of this, and someone is literally just being a creep and a child hunter. And I will also say voice changers are so cheap, if not free, in today's world. So there's no guarantee that an actual female was talking to the child. Not saying that, a specific gender makes sense. I'm just emphasizing the masquerading of someone's voice can make the situation even more creepy and scary and yucky. And there's some very sick people out there, so I absolutely want to use this episode to not only talk about these events and bring awareness, but what you as a parent, a guardian, and a security professional can do to ensure that when you put these devices on your internet, what you can do to protect yourself and those in your household, or even a neighbor, right? So I want to start with shopping for devices. And I felt like there was a common theme between these 3 different stories throughout time, was that it seemed like a lot of these devices that were purchased were either they're very reputable known, or they were a cheap consumer product that fit the need of the consumer. And if the price is cheap, and I will say, just basing my own quick research, my quick judgment on this, when doing a browse through Amazon, if the price is cheap and there are double digits of reviews, especially single digits, I would question the authenticity of this product and where it's coming from. If you're using platforms like Amazon to shop from, stores like Amazon supports third-party suppliers. And this is a very common practice. Personally, I would not buy a camera off of Temu or Shein or Wish or any of those bulk store websites or e-commerce platforms because, again, I very am concerned about the authenticity of where these products are coming from and how they're made. But you want to make sure, in my opinion, that you just take literal seconds, just a few extra seconds, to see who the seller is and where it's being shipped from. A lot of these quote unquote cheaper products and very low reviewed products, the seller is a shady shady username or a shady place that has no website, has nothing to back them up. It looks like they are purchasing stuff from a yard sale and selling it out of their garage. And then on top of it, especially the reviews that are coming from single digits, they look like fake accounts. There's no other reviews from these accounts. It's all 5 stars. It's all fantastic, wonderful reviews to give the facade that this product is actually legit and it's very authentic and reliable. But again, if you don't know who the seller is and where this product is coming from, there's no evidence to show that this device has been tampered with, or where you're getting the device from is truly from maybe a third party seller of the actual company. And it just, I don't know. There's a lot of red flags. In my opinion, I would spend the extra $5 or $10 on products to make sure that they're authentic and they're coming legit from the dealer itself or an approved dealer. And a lot of times, if you go to the dealer's page or even the product's website, they have these people listed as legit dealers for their products. Again, I personally would spend the extra $5 or $10 to get a legit product compared to something that could be tampered and bring harm to my family, let alone my infant child. So another red flag to me is a lot of the times e-commerce websites like Amazon have a data privacy linked for the product or even the product's website. And again, this should be a red flag that if companies don't post their data privacy or website with the product, there should be some bells ringing in your head to start questioning the authenticity of this product. If there is no privacy policy found, and I'm talking about on the product's website, if there's no privacy policy or the privacy policy hasn't been updated within, in my opinion, the last 3 years, it should just be a hard no to purchasing the product. Data privacies, in my opinion, has to be current, has to be accessible and easy to find. And if there is no data privacy that is current or matches any of these criteria, this is basically saying that the company itself is not handling your data according to local authority governance, regulatory, or protective standards, especially if a child is involved with this product, such as cameras or other monitoring devices. There's no guarantee that the data, such as camera feeds, voices, your password logins, your email address, how like your child is being recognized, how often they sleep. If the data privacy is not standard or current, there's basically no guarantee how or where your data is being sent or if it's even being sold to. It makes me feel gross thinking that I'm bringing in a technology product into my house and I'm just letting whoever capture all of this information and they're doing whatever they want with it. Like, it should be my job as a parent, or I would say the owner of this product, to make sure that my family is safe. So yeah, if you need an analogy, it's like basically it's the equivalent to bringing a nanny in your home, letting them take pictures of your family, your children, your dog, everything in your cabinet, and then printing off these said pictures and letting them hand them out on the streets of Vegas or a Chick-fil-A. That is the equivalent to how data is being handled with these products if the data privacy policy is not current, accurate, or even usable to read. Again, I'm not a legal officer or counsel advisor. These are just things that I think should also just be in consideration. Now, if you do find a product or if you do find a privacy policy on these pages, there are specific key phrases that I do recommend to look for, such as encryption, network segmentation, and data retention. These phrases ensure that data is being handled with care, with confidentiality, and is retained for a sensitive and specific amount of time. I also tell people to make sure that there is an email address in the data privacy, because if the company does get a breach, if that data is collected, like video camera feed, then there should be an email address that should be in contact with you, or an email address that you can contact if this is a situation that did occur, which fingers crossed should never happen. Now, most of the time, data handling, especially with a cloud service, has to follow specific governing laws. Like, for example, California has very, very strict laws with how data is handled. Europe is a fantastic country that is a great example on how data should be handled. This doesn't mean there is police out there that are sitting there watching on how data is being handled, that it's being enforced. Most of the times, if data is being mishandled, it doesn't come up until there's been a breach or a very significant newsworthy event. And that's just the world we live in. I'm not saying that's always the cases. A lot of reputable companies, that's why they have audits, that's why they have cyber insurance, that's why they have all of these things to look for specific data handling risk. Again, doesn't mean that our local police is sitting out there and being like, yep, the Johnson's data is being handled correctly this week. No, it's not really that. So do keep in mind when you do shop for these devices, just think about how your data is being handled and what that data could potentially be like. Now, if you're shopping for devices that have local storage, and you just don't even want to mess with cloud or internet uploads, that's totally okay. Some people don't like the cloud. My opinion, the cloud is not going away. It is the world we live in. And as long as a reputable company is taking, in my opinion, cyber serious, data regulation serious, the cloud should not be a scary thing. It's like going to visit your summer home house in abroad or something like that. That is the cloud. You ship stuff there, that's where it lives. Now, if you're looking for more of local memory storage, things that are saved local to the device, on your phone, on an SD card, local storage does not mean unlimited storage. Cloud storage is very cheap because it's virtual. Local storage is hardware components. And most of the time, it's up to the product owner to maintain and retain data. And again, because it's not unlimited, this can be very costly, and this is the route you're chosen. But it does reduce risk on how data is being handled by an unknown entity or party as well. Now, there are some products that have been deemed with quote unquote techie parents to be safe, and it's valued because of how the data is being handled, especially with cameras and baby monitors. And I will link these products in the description of the podcast and the show notes as well. And the one camera I do want to promote is called, and I do apologize if I pronounce the name wrong, but it's Eufy's baby monitor in 2K. In this baby monitor, it doesn't use Wi-Fi to view camera feed, and their data is handled by a very reputable company. It's not outsourced to third parties that onboards multiple small businesses. This means this company takes their data privacy very, very serious, and it promotes with great pride on how they handled their data. They ensure that encryption is being advertised. They ensure that whoever is watching the feed, it is someone that is authorized to watch the feed, meaning that they enforce accounts, they enforce passwords, account creations, and it's very hard for a unknown entity to interject themselves into the camera's internet connection to monitor your child or even talk to them. Now, another camera on the market that I do also want to promote is called Kubo AI Plus. And I know I just went on a rant about using AI as a marketing strategy, whatever. But I do want to say this camera is fully integrated to the cloud. So cloud security regulations could or could not be implemented. That is your risk if you do want to go down this route. But the camera application itself does allow full user access control, meaning specific people must have login for the camera portal to be access to the feed that the camera is monitoring. This camera also has additional features that include facial detection and recognition to get into the application itself. So it does reduce unwanted visitors as well. Now, there are some cameras that are very well known in the area that are available, such as Ring or Nest. These cameras are not the worst with security. There are some flaws I personally do not like, and some people can disagree with me, and I am totally okay with that. I would love to hear your opinions. But for me personally, one of the major turnoff with these, especially being a customer of these products, now the new products could be different, but being a customer, I have noticed that it's not it's not usable with a lot of the security features. In fact, when I had used these products myself, I noticed a lot of these security features are turned off by default when you just open the camera out of the box and plug it in and sign into the portal. Like, for example, MFA is turned off. I have to go in and do my own research on who can have access to the links and stuff like that. Otherwise, my entire neighborhood would know what's going on. And it's just, I don't know, to me, if I was to use this for a baby monitoring device, I would really have to dig in and do some manual research on to ensure like the proper securities in place. Again, 2018, that camera from 2018 in the previous story with the Garcia family, it still can be purchased. And there are no requirements for auto updates or stuff like that. So again, if you are going for these more reputable devices to integrate with your already existing security network, totally fine, but I do recommend to taking those extra precautions and steps to ensure that those security features and user access controls are enabled. Shocking, I know, security not being usable. But again, right, if Nest or Ring had made these security options enabled by default, I don't think this would be the worst product ever. I think this would be fantastic, especially making it as part of the onboarding process or the setup process for these products. And again, not everyone is going to know what encryption is or what MFA is or understand the importance of it. But again, regardless of the product that you do go through, like Ring or Nest, please make sure MFA is turned on because this will absolutely help prevent password guessing, especially if you're potentially like the Garcia family who reuses credentials or anything else. So I will say, regardless, avoid no-name brands that are cheap and sale on Amazon. There is no guarantee where these products come from or if they're legit from a true company. People do sell bogus fake gadgets all the time, especially on Facebook Marketplace, especially on Amazon. It allows any stranger into your home virtually. I always tell people having your home network compromised is like living with a poltergeist. You know there is something in your house, but you can't see them, and that is probably one of the most terrifying part of it. If you already have a baby monitor camera in your house, or just a general security camera in your house, regardless, I recommend you looking on YouTube, doing a quick Google search, asking your AI engine, how do you enable these security features, such as MFA, such as network segmentation, such as enabling strong encryption. These features, in my opinion, are a must, and they should be enabled just to make sure your home is secure. And additionally, turn on logins, right? Like I said with MFA, ensure MFA is enabled. Ensure that like you have logins enforced because this will reduce unwanted visitors in your virtual home. And change the default password, please. That will make me so happy. So again, defenders and lab coats, I always want to hear what you guys have to say. Do you know someone that has definitely fallen victim to an issue with a security camera baby monitor in their home? Do you have any other suggestions on how to ensure your family or friends are safe at home, especially with IoT? Like I said in the beginning, there are a lot of IoT devices in today's world, but baby monitors is one that I think a lot of people can relate to. Again, if you're a caregiver or a child or know someone who would benefit from learning more about cybersecurity in your home, I do recommend following the Secure Dad podcast. I will link his channel below. And additionally, I do want to give a quick shout out to an amazing volunteer in the CyberSpeak labs. This is Umair. He has helped with previous episodes before, but he definitely really pushed the IoT security episode. So I do appreciate his passion with cyber and everything he does. I have linked his social medias below as well in the description because he is an awesome person to follow on these platforms. And if you would like to donate to victims of cybercrime, again, this is a charity designed to support victims of cybercrime to aid their mental health, especially for those who have fallen victim to breaches, gift card scams, or other related events. I personally have family members that have fallen victims to these, and the mental health portion and recovery from this can be very draining and exhausting. So I do appreciate the charity and everything that they're doing. And to help aid the growth of this lab as well, please comment, share, and rate the podcast. Because of you guys, I'm able to reach out to other charities, really promote them and what they're doing, and also help others build their personal brand within the CyberSpeak labs as well. So thank you, defenders and lab coats, and I look forward to seeing you in the lab again soon. Bye!